Hello, it's me again, Morbid Sleep. Politics and metal. We all know a few bands who have always been political, and a few musicians who are not shy about their personal political views. Music doesn't exist in a vacuum, so I'd like to posit that it is almost completely impossible for any musician, especially lyricists, to completely remove politics or any sort of opinion from their music. Everything we say, think, or do has to come from somewhere. And that means, for humans, that a simple line in a song had to be written by someone with life experiences, opinions, biases, beliefs, and their own unique perspective on life. Take the following lyrics, for example. This is Darkthrone's Boreal Fiends from the album Arctic Thunder. Darkthrone is a bit of a darling of the 90s black metal pantheon because Gilvin Nagel and Ted Skellum are most famous for not being convicted of murder, arson, not serving any prison sentences, not promoting any political views via the band or its music, and not committing suicide. Despite, of course, Gilvin Nagel's and presumably Ted Skellum's personal involvement in local politics in their personal lives, black metal nerds will quickly point to Darkthrone as the apolitical good band of the second wave of black metal. These lyrics, too, seem nice and unbiased. Well, I'm not suggesting they're controversial. I just wanted to use these lyrics to point out that the lyricist had to have a worldview and an angle in order to create these lyrics. You could apply this to the whole song. I just chose this short passage because I also selected it completely at random, so, maybe there's a better example, but honestly, my point is that every song has an angle, so any example should hold up to this test, and you can try it as well with your favorite song that you think is apolitical. But anyway, words like fiend and grateful have inherent value attached to them. This isn't an interpretation of lyrics. I'm not trying to find hidden meanings. My point is that although it seems neutral, there is an angle here. It's not necessarily a strong one. All I want to say here is even a seemingly neutral song has to come from somewhere. A listener is hearing a point of view. Obviously, some songs have more potential to be interpreted in different ways. Boreal Fiends doesn't really appear to me to have very many possible interpretations, especially not any political interpretations. But a listener's bias can also change how the lyrics are interpreted. For me, Boreal Fiends is ostensibly meaningless, but maybe someone with some sort of interest in Norwegian history or ecology of the taiga region of the world has some other opinion about this particular song. For the purposes of this video, we will accept that no matter who you are, or what the genre is, or what you believe in, your lyrics will be colored by your own unique point of view, even if in such a small and unnoticeable way as in the Darkthrone lyrics. Which brings me to the question for today's video. Are there inherent political values attached to specific music genres? For example, if people who enjoy pop music are more likely to be in favor of hereditary government, or perhaps all jazz musicians typically lean towards anarcho-primitivism as a political ideology. Specifically, are metalheads more likely to agree with each other on specific issues than, say, Metalheads and indie kids?
Well, my first response would probably be, no, that's stupid.
Firstly, people don't exclusively listen to one genre to begin with. I don't just listen to metal. I listen to goth rock, proto-industrial, experimental noise, and Islamic devotional and love songs. Secondly, there are loads of different subgenres of metal, even if there was some sort of idea that metalheads all kind of had the same opinions. Don't you think a heavy metal fan would have a different opinion from a depressive suicidal black metal fan? Thirdly, it's just music. What the hell? How can music be an influencer or indicator of a person's political views? But now we must remember, metal doesn't exist in a vacuum. Let me be clear, metal is awesome and I love the way it sounds. But we choose to listen to metal for a reason, and people choose not to listen to metal for a reason. Think of the stereotypical American conservative Karen type, the kind who thinks metal is demonic or satanic, and rap music is for thugs. Whether metal is or is not satanic is not exactly the point here. The crux of this example is that our Karen type, let's name her Bonnie after my favorite character in Chris Fleming's Gale web series.
Oh, that is so funny you mentioned that. Didn't Dr. Bruce just fit you for Invisalign, Bonnie? Bruce fit you for Invisalign.
That snake in the grass, Bonnie, doesn't need Invisalign. She's just doing that to get close to Bruce.
Bonnie won't listen to heavy metal music because it's satanic. That suggests that she has some idea of what the word satanic means to her and what heavy metal means to her. And whatever it means, to her it's something probably negative that she doesn't personally identify with or never wants to personally identify with. Bonnie doesn't have to be religious to be anti-Satan. If she associates Satanism with hoodlumry, dangerous behavior, and degeneracy, chances are she's going to be anti-Satan, regardless of her religious beliefs. If we can agree that a more conservative-minded person like our Bonnie believes that heavy metal and Satan are inherently linked, and that a more conservative-minded person like our dear friend Bonnie is anti-Satan, then it should stand to reason that besides edgy teenagers and actual Satanists, there must be a third group out here listening to metal who doesn't care about Satanism. Therefore, they must not be a conservative group aligned against Satan. You might call them a little more liberal, more open-minded, free-spirited, free-thinking, non-traditional.
Well, golly, I think we found our metalhead demographic.
Not having an opinion about Satan, or being a Satanist, or being a dumb teenager isn't a political ideology, it's not a political stance. It could even be argued that's not even relevant to politics. But I think what it tells us about metalheads is probably that they style themselves as free thinkers. This interpretation or characterization has to change depending on your culture's attitude towards metal. For example, in Germany, light metal is played on the pop radio quite regularly, so I think it's safe to assume that wearing a Five Finger Death Punch t-shirt or listening to Linkin Park doesn't really make you edgy or transgressive in Germany, and what subgenre of metal you actually listen to. I think knowing a person is a metalhead definitely tells you something about them, but only in the loosest and most general sense. Put another way, you at least know what a metalhead is not. Let's take vegans for an example. If you were to meet a vegan, you would know something about them. Namely, that they don't eat meat. They may have any number of reasons for this, ranging from health reasons, dietary restrictions, aesthetic, preference for anti-industrial politics, climate change, or animal rights. So, what you could say about a metalhead is they are not afraid of the social stigma that being considered a metalhead might carry in their culture. Metalhead is also not restricted by conventional musical practices. They're more likely to think creatively about the boundaries of sound, perhaps. You could summarize a metalhead by assuming that they're nonconformist, although within the metalhead community there are a lot of opportunities to conform. Are there inherent political values attached to metal music? Well, yes, no, yes and no.
Anyway, this has been Morbid Sleep. Talking about politics in metal. Okay, that's it.